Welcome to some forgotten bits of history, and especially in this part of the country, related to mining. So where I am now is just above the lower south fork of the Salmon River. I can show you the map over here. Where I am is marked in a few different ways, most often marked as this Haze Station, right there in the middle. But also, what was over here, especially on these slopes, was a bunch of Chinese traditional gardens. So where I am is close to the small central Idaho town of Warren. And over here, especially from the 1870s to about 1910, there was a very sizable Chinese immigrant population working in the mines. And when they came over, they also brought some traditional farming techniques that they used back home. I unfortunately don't know quite what they grew here, but I know they used these slopes, which looked a lot different then, to grow things, different traditional medicines, traditional edible plants, a very large portion of things that they ate up here, especially considering that the growing season, even where I am, probably at about 4,000 feet elevation, the growing season is quite short. So they did what they could to grow things, and over the years, there were several different gardens up here. We're going to be checking out the different information stations, such as the one right here. There'll be ones for the different slope gardens, they were called. There's 3 that are marked on the maps: the Celadon Slope Garden, the Toy Garden, and the Chisandra Garden. It's marked a couple different things. What I'm walking up to now was the home of one of those Chinese immigrants, as he worked these, I guess you could call them fields. It was Toy's house, as he was called in the area. Give you a chance to read the descriptions here. Kind of hard to see, but states that there were many artifacts found here that were very specific to the Chinese immigrants and miners of the area, and that this was his home. It's quite the small little shelter here. You don't really need a whole lot out here. Now, I'm not sure if he stayed winters and such, but I can imagine he didn't. It would be brutal out here in the winters. Many feet of snow, probably lots of wind. And considering that all of the trees out here are new, very new, these are very young trees, very likely was a lot of wind coming through. I can't imagine that there was much to stop it here. And we're going to move on from Toy's house to check out the cabin that was built here. I think that this would have been congruent to his stay, and if not, it would have been just right after. So walking up, I'm going to talk about it a little bit, and then I'll show you the information placard. This right here is called Haze Station. Skip ahead to when we're over at the information plaque here. And we are now at the information plaque here. This is called Haze Station after Charles B. Haze, who constructed an original log cabin here sometime between 1902 and 1906. And then it says right there that the Forest Service reclaimed rights to this land and Haze improvements in 1908, and then established a ranger station here. The original log house burned in 1913, and the Rangers rebuilt it. And I believe they reused this station up until, I'd say, early 1920s, I think it was. And past then, it has not been used as a ranger station. And then in the 1980s, they rebuilt the station and used traditional tools and methods to do so, which makes it quite interesting. Man, it's going to rain here soon. But they used traditional tools and methods to make sure that everything was restored as well as it could be. I don't think you can even tell the difference between the restored logs and the normal logs. But there's also an alert right here that some possible hantavirus exposure is in the cabin, so we're definitely not going to try to go in. But it's a very interesting building here, right in a very beautiful area. None of these trees would have been here, so it would have just been a nice open view to the fork of the Salmon River here. I'm going to move on and see if I can find some spots with further placards. I think there's a couple further up where some of the original slope gardens were. And then we'll see what we can find from there. I've come up just above Haze Station, just down there. And I'm at another sign here mentioning that this specific spot is terraced. And I'll show you this in a second while you read the signs here a little bit. But very specifically, this is kind of where they did the specific slope tending and terraced everything, making it quite interesting. And you can see the individual terraces a little bit here. It's hard to get it to come across on camera, but there's a definite difference in height between this and up there and right here, with each of these sections being a good flat section of ground that continues off a good distance. Doesn't continue off very far, but it's a very good example of the terraces that they used to, what's the word I'm looking for? Grade the slope, I guess. So it was a bit less harsh, so the water flowed slower, irrigated the crops that were here, and ended up, well, growing food. It's a very good section for that, from the information that I'm seeing. And then there's one more little placard that we're going to go take a look at before we head out from this site today. I'm going to take you just up the road here. And as I walk up these different sections, I can see another terraced bit there, with another section that's terraced right there. It's hard to show it on camera, of course. It's hard to get it to come across. This one comes across really well. Shows off kind of what they did here back in the 1870s to very early 1900s. And then, I don't think you can hear it, but there is a nice roaring creek just over that ridge, which is probably one of the water sources that they used to irrigate all this. So, we'll see what this last sign says here. Huh. A dump. So this is where they would have thrown all their trash and thrown away all the stuff they couldn't just carry on. Huh. There. Huh. Pretty interesting stuff. So this dump suggests people of European descent lived here, and very likely men of European descent, who just kind of threw away their trash in one select spot. I don't even think they dug it out, really. I think that was done by the archaeologists coming up and, well, excavating things. Seeing what they could find. So, I think that's the extent of this site here. This definitely is a forgotten chunk of history, with the Chinese slope gardens there. This might be another terrace right here. Then the different folks of European descent coming up here to farm and explore the Salmon River, of which one of the lower forks is just beyond all those trees and down those slopes. So, very interesting area with a lot of history, a lot of different groups and peoples have lived here. Glad I could come check this out.